So you testified in this courtroom that after Mr. Depp smashed the phone, he held you down on the countertop by the neck. Do you remember that?
I'm not quite sure of the exact sequence of things, but yes, both of those things happened.
Okay. Well, we'll get to the sequence. And this is when Mr. Depp supposedly assaulted you with a bottle, right?
On the countertop, he assaulted me.
So Mr. Depp was able to get you on the counter, right?
He held me down by my neck.
And hold you down by your neck.
That is correct.
And he grabbed a bottle, according to you, while holding you down by the neck, correct?
I'm sorry, can you clarify what you're asking me?
While Mr. Depp is holding you by the neck against the countertop, he grabs a bottle. That's your testimony.
No, those two things didn't happen at the exact same time, no.
So he's holding the bottle, is that your testimony? While holding you down by the neck?
Sorry, what was your question?
Your testimony is, Ms. Heard, that either he has the bottle before or after he's holding you by the neck on the counter. Is that your testimony?
He held me by the neck on the counter.
Where's the bottle that he assaulted you with?
At what point?
While holding you down by your neck.
When he was assaulting me with the bottle, it was in his hand.
Okay. Was it in his hand before or after he holds you down by your neck?
I was being held down while he assaulted me with the bottle.
When he puts you on the counter, does he have the bottle in his hand, yes or no?
As I have always said, I don't remember exactly what happened first, or I don't remember the sequence. I just remember being aware that I was being assaulted by a bottle while I was on the countertop.
So he penetrates you with this bottle. But you don't know how he got the bottle, right?
That is correct.
Okay. And he did that right after he lost the tip of his right middle finger.
Again, I don't remember the exact sequence of those events.
We'll get to the sequence. And while he was on 8 to 10 MDMA pills, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about the sequence. This is the sequence of events you testified to in this courtroom. That he smashed the phone to smithereens and then assaulted you, lost the tip of his finger, and then assaulted you with a bottle. Yes? That's the sequence of events that you testified to in this courtroom.
To be clear, you're putting it in order when you say words like, then. I have never claimed that I can remember the exact sequence of these things. This was a multi-day assault that took place over 3 horrible days.
Ms. Heard,
it's the worst thing ever happened to me. I don't remember
Ms.
the
Heard,
exact sequence.
that's not my question. My question isn't about the 3-day assault allegedly that occurred. I'm just talking about the sexual assault that you now allege occurred.
Yes,
okay?
correct.
Let's talk about the sequence. So you testified, actually. Do you have a copy? Yeah, I know. I just realized that. Do we have a copy? We gave it to you yesterday. Court transcript. Ms. Heard, do you have a copy of day 16 in front of you?
Day 16? Yes, of
Court
my deposition?
Yes. Mm-hmm. No, of the court transcript from this trial.
Oh.
Yes.
I didn't realize that. Yeah,
okay. Let's look at the transcript. So you testified on page, I'm getting there, 4506.
All right.
There? Okay. And the reason that we need to go through this, Ms. Heard, is because we understand that these are very serious allegations that you're making, right?
It was horrible. What happened to me, yes.
Okay, so let's go through them. Page 4506, line 2 through 3. I sit here now, apologize. You testified on page 4506. This all started when Mr. Depp took 8 or 10 pills of MDMA, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Then, directing your attention to page 4518. Line 19. You talk about Mr. Depp smashing a wall-mounted phone, correct?
That is correct.
Then on page 4519, at line 3, you testified that while Mr. Depp is smashing the phone, he is screaming, quote, "I fucking hate you," end quote, right?
Yes, he was screaming that, among other things.
And further down on page 4519, same page, lines 12 through 19, you talk about how you watched Mr. Depp smash the phone to smithereens, right?
That is correct.
Then, continuing on the same page, 4519, line 20, you say something really important. Quote, at some point, he's on top of me. No phone, but screaming the same thing, end quote, right?
I just remember the sound, yes.
But you remember, and you testified to this jury, that he didn't have the phone in his hand anymore.
When he was assaulting me with the bottle,
Right.
he had the bottle in his hand. When he was punching the wall with the phone, he had the phone in his hand. When he was punching the wall next to my head, he had me by the throat. He did a lot of things that night.
So you're acknowledging, by this sequence, not my words, your words, Ms. Heard, that you testified to this jury that Mr. Depp smashed the phone to smithereens before he assaulted you. That's the sequencing in which you testified, correct?
I have never testified to a sequence.
Okay. Keep talking about that sequence. Then on page 4521, starting at line 3, you testified to being bent over backwards on the bar, right?
Okay.
Directing your attention, Ms. Heard, to page 4521, starting at line 3. You testified to being bent over backwards on the bar, right?
That is correct.
And then feeling pressure on your pubic bone like Mr. Depp was punching you. Yes?
That's what I thought.
And then further down on page 4521 and on to 4522, you testified that you were concerned Mr. Depp was using a broken bottle on you. Yes?
That was my fear.
Okay.
That's what I remember feeling.
Ms. Heard, I'm going to show you Defendant's Exhibit 1816. Which has already been admitted.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You saw this picture during your direct examination, right?
I did.
And you testified that this is a picture of the bottles that were next to Mr. Depp on a desk when you found him drinking in the morning, right?
That's correct.
And this was the morning after Mr. Depp had allegedly sexually assaulted you, right?
It was the morning after he did assault me. Yes.
And if I understood your testimony correctly, you testified that this is the Maker's Mark bottle that Mr. Depp sexually assaulted you with.
I was never sure it was, but it was definitely that shape. Felt like that shape.
But you testified in this courtroom that you had not seen this bottle until Ben King provided these photographs, correct?
Not in the course of the trial. I hadn't seen the photograph.
You claim you had serious injuries after this alleged incident, right, Ms. Heard?
Depends on what you would call serious. For me, having a sore jaw and some bruises at the time of my relationship wasn't that serious.
Okay, let's testify.
Relative.
Let's focus on the testimony that you gave about the injuries. Mr. Depp, as you testified yesterday, wears rings on every finger, right?
Sometimes. Often. And certainly in the later part of our relationship, that was more normal than not. But if he's filming or something like that, of course, he's not going to have his own jewelry on.
Your testimony in this trial was, quote, I don't know if I've ever known Johnny not to wear rings. Correct?
You need to put your microphone on, Miss. Thank you.
Objection, Your Honor.
Thank
Improper impeachment. If she's going to ask her question, then she has to show where that was and then.
I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead.
Thank you. Your testimony yesterday was, quote, I don't know if I've ever known Johnny not to wear rings. Right, Ms. Heard?
That's what I testified to, yes.
Okay. And he was wearing rings on every finger in Australia, correct?
Not all the time, not literally every single ring, every single day, but he often wears rings.
Not often, Ms. Heard. Your words are, I've never known Johnny not to wear rings on every finger.
That is what I testified to.
Okay. And you testified that you bled as a result of this sexual assault, correct?
That is correct.
All right. And you testified that your forearms were cut.
My forearms and my feet.
And your feet were sliced up.
That's correct.
And you testified you had a bruise across your jaw.
That is correct.
And there is not a single medical record reflecting treatment for any of those injuries, is there, Ms. Heard?
I didn't seek treatment.
And the day after you sustained all these injuries, Dr. David Kipper came to the house in Australia, right?
Well, he came the third day along with security.
The day after you sustained these injuries, Dr. David Kipper came along with Nurse Debbie Lloyd, correct?
Well, That fight went into the morning, like early hour morning, so technically that last day.
Dr. David Kipper is Mr. Depp's, or was Mr. Depp's physician, right?
I believe he still is.
But he
Yes.
was at the time.
Yes, that's correct.
And he was also your physician.
He also saw me.
No, not saw you. He was your physician, correct, Ms. Heard?
Johnny was the client, but he also treated me.
All right, let's please pull up. Do you remember giving testimony in this case in a deposition, Ms. Heard?
Yes, I do. I've given a couple.
Your Honor, we're going to play Ms. Heard's deposition for the jury, lines day 2, page 540, lines 6 through 9. If we have permission to publish it.
You gotta give me a minute.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, day 2, page 589, lines 6 through 8. And he was your doctor at this point, right?
Yes, he was.
Debbie Lloyd also came to the house that day.
Yes, she came with Kipper.
Yeah. Miss Lloyd is a nurse, correct?
That is correct.
Malcolm Connolly also came to the house that day.
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Connolly is one of the security guards, correct?
That is correct.
You had known Mr. Connolly for years at that point.
Yes, that's correct.
You flew back to Los Angeles the next day with Ben King. Is that right?
I can't be certain if it was the next day or the day after, but somewhere around there, yes.
And the day you arrived back in Los Angeles, you saw Travis McGivern, correct?
I don't recall seeing Travis, no.
You don't recall Mr. McGivern picking you up from the airport with Ben King?
I don't remember that, no.
And the same day, you also saw your own nurse, Erin Barem-Filati, that day, correct? The day you arrived in Los Angeles?
I don't recall if I saw her that day.
You saw Miss Filati's testimony in this case by video deposition, correct?
That is correct.
And you heard her testify that she saw you the day you arrived back from Australia on March 9th, 2015.
I believe she testified that she came to dinner where I was with friends. Yeah, I believe that.
So she saw you that day.
I believe that evening I saw her at dinner.
Okay. And then you saw Erin Barem-Filati again the next day for a private meeting, didn't you?
I'm not sure if that's what she testified to. I'd have to just see the records to know.
You heard her testify according to her notes. She met with you privately on March 10th, 2015.
She met with me at some point upon my arrival, but I don't remember the exact date.
And when you were in Australia, Ms. Heard, you didn't take any pictures of the injuries you claimed to have sustained, right?
I did not take any pictures, no.
But you did take 2 pictures.
Of the mirrors. I took 2 pictures of the bathroom mirrors. That was the master bathroom where I was.
Let's please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 374, which is already in evidence. You took this picture, right, Ms. Heard?
Yes, that's correct.
And this is a mirror in the bathroom in Australia.
That's correct.
You took this picture after Mr. Depp had injured his finger.
That's correct.
And you took this picture after you had allegedly been assaulted by Mr. Depp, yes?
That's correct.
Yet you didn't capture yourself in the mirror, did you?
I don't see myself in the mirror, no.
Let's please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 375. You took this picture as well, right, Ms. Heard?
That's correct.
And this is from one of the bathroom mirrors in Australia.
That's correct.
This is also a picture taken after Mr. Depp had injured his finger.
That's correct.
And this is also a picture taken after you had allegedly been assaulted by Mr. Depp.
That's correct.
You didn't capture yourself in the mirror in this picture either, did you?
I do not see myself in the mirror in that picture.
Is that because you didn't have any visible injuries on you?
It's because I was taking a picture of the writing.
Let's talk about the writing on this mirror. So the writing in black paint is from Mr. Depp, correct?
It's all from Mr. Depp.
And it's your testimony under oath that you did not write the red text that says, quote, "Call Carly Simon, she said it better, babe," end quote.
That's correct.
Because if you did write that, it means that your husband was walking around the house bleeding from his amputated finger, and you're writing snarky messages to him on a mirror, right?
I don't know what your question to me is. I'm sorry.
Let's please take a look at Defendant's Exhibit 1830. And I believe this picture is also admitted into evidence.
That's correct.
This is a picture of the same mirror, right?
That's correct.
But you didn't take this picture.
No, I did not.
This is the one that Ben King took.
And I don't see him in the mirror either.
I don't believe he claimed he had injuries, though. Is that right?
I did not hear Ben King talk about his injuries, no.
So you would agree, Ms. Heard, that the black text on the mirror says, quote, "She loves naked photos of herself. So modern, so hot."
I had not read that yet. I mean, before, but yeah, that's what it says.
But you were taking pictures of the text, but you had not read that before?
I haven't seen this. It didn't make sense to me at the time when I read it in person.
Okay. Again, Mr. Depp wrote that.
I don't know who else would have.
So, Ms. Heard, just to be clear, it's your testimony that Mr. Depp also wrote the message in red about Carly Simon saying it better, right?
That's correct.
You know Carly Simon sang the song "You're So Vain," right?
I was told that.
So it's your testimony that Mr. Depp was writing messages to himself in the mirror back and forth.
The best I can describe it is it looked like a crazy conversation. It was on the walls, it was
With
on
himself.
lampshades, it was on cushions.
It's your testimony the crazy conversation was with himself.
That's what it looked like from the bloody messages I found.
And you would agree with me that in this photograph, the red text has been smudged with black paint, right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's please pull up, if we can, Defendant's Exhibit 375 again. The black smudge isn't in this picture that you took, right?
That's correct.
So Mr. Depp must have not liked his own message to himself.
I'm not quite sure what was happening when Ben took his photograph, no.
Let's please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 343, which is already in evidence, and play the portion from 1:57:21 through 1:58:54. It's a recording, Your Honor.
It's not to get you mad. It's just to get out of a bad situation while it's happening before it gets worse. In Australia, when we had the big fight where I lost the tip of my finger, at least 5 bathrooms and 2 bedrooms I went to
avoid talking to me, to avoid working it out. That's
to
the
escape
problem.
the fight.
You don't escape the fight. You escape the solution.
No.
You escape the solution.
No.
You escape figuring it out. We cannot work it out if you run away to the bathroom every time.
Listen to me. Listen to me. A boxer can't go 12 rounds without a fucking minute break.
I'm not giving you a minute break. You do it at minute 3 at the beginning of an argument.
No. There are rounds, man. And when it gets too fucking hairy, the ref splits them apart or whatever. But all I'm saying is, you can't have a solution if the argument just keeps mounting and mounting and mounting and mounting. I fucking go into the bathroom and sit on the floor. Bam, 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 here you come. I come out. Fight, crazy, escalated. I go split again, I go to another fucking bathroom or a bedroom or something. Knock, 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 bang, bang, bang. You kept coming to get me.
This is what really happened in Australia, isn't it, Ms. Heard?
I did knock on a bathroom door on the first night.
Not a bathroom door, 5 bathroom doors, and 2 bedrooms. Isn't
Johnny
that right?
is not an accurate historian of what happened during
Ms. Heard,
that
Ms.
period
Heard,
of time. I'll guarantee
Ms.
that.
Heard, that's not my question. 5 bathroom doors, 2 bedrooms. That's what you knocked on.
I
That's
was
what
there.
actually happened in Australia, isn't it, Ms. Heard?
I was there.
So that's a
I
no?
remember it. I knocked on 1 bathroom door. I came on the first night after he decided to take the bag of MDMA.
Ms.
And I
Heard,
went to check
Ms.
on
Heard,
him and see
I'm going to
if we
move to
could-
strike everything after I knocked on 1 bathroom
She
door.
can't do that. She's answering the question.
Not quite, so I will sustain the objection. Just answer the question, okay, ma'am?
The recording we just listened to, that's exactly what happened in Australia. Mr. Depp lost the tip of his finger after you threw a bottle at him. Isn't that right?
That is incorrect.
You're the one who assaulted someone with a bottle in Australia. Isn't that right, Ms. Heard?
I didn't assault Johnny in Australia. I didn't assault Johnny ever. I couldn't.
And then after he was injured, he had to hide from you, right?
That is
In
incorrect.
5 bathrooms, 2 bedrooms.
That is incorrect.
And you would pursue him
That is incorrect.
because he was avoiding talking to you, right?
He did that first night when
he was
I tried to
avoiding-
talk to him about the drugs.
And he was avoiding working it out.
No, he was avoiding agreeing to not fight about the drugs.
You weren't scared of him at all, were you?
I have a mixed relationship with Johnny, and one in which I'm scared, one in which I love him very much.
I'm not talking about your mixed relationship. That night in Australia, after you cut off his finger with a bottle, you weren't scared of him at all, were you?
This is a man who tried to kill me. Of course it's scary. He's also my husband.
Ms. Heard, I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 371. Ms. Heard, I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 371. Do you recognize these text messages between you and Dr. Cowan?
I don't recognize these, no.
Who's Dr. Cowan?
He was my therapist that was recommended to me from Dr. Kipper. He and Dr. Kipper worked together.
He was your therapist at the time, correct?
That's correct.
And you had been seeing him for almost a year in March of 2015?
My guess would be about 6 months at that point.
Your text messages are in gray, correct?
Your Honor, I'm going to ask that she show her the unredacted so that she can see the text exchange back and forth
if you
if
can-
she wants to talk
Absolutely.
about
All right, we'll
moving
pull that
in
up.
redacted
Sure.
later.
Let's go ahead.
Thank you.
Pull it up.
Seeing these unredacted messages, does this refresh your recollection that these are indeed communications between you and Dr. Cowan?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Doctor, your text messages are in gray, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And Dr. Cowan's are in blue?
That is correct.
Okay. Do you see the text message at the bottom of the page from March 8th, 2015 at 8:29 p.m.?
Yes, that's correct.
March 8th is the day that you were allegedly sexually assaulted by Mr. Depp in Australia, correct?
That is correct.
So on March 8th, 2015, you were in Australia,
That is correct.
and Mr. Depp's finger had just been cut off, right?
That is correct.
And you write to Dr. Cowan, quote, "I feel so lost. I can't talk. I don't know if I'll ever be able to change," end quote. Did I read that correctly?
That's correct.
You weren't able to change, were you, Ms. Heard?
I very much wanted to leave the relationship I was in, but I didn't have the power. I didn't feel I had the power to leave. I knew I was in a very toxic relationship with Johnny, and I knew I needed to change that. I knew it was, at this point, horrible for me. And I
I'm gonna
talked to
move
my
to
therapist
admit
often about that.
Defendant's Exhibit 371 as redacted with just Ms. Heard's messages.
All right.
Your Honor, I object because she has left out the next two lines from Ms. Heard that clarify even further, and I also think
Ms.
that
Brennehoff,
Dr. Cowan's
Could you
Your
show-
Honor, may we
Yeah,
please
let's go.
approach? So, Your Honor, I'm going to move to admit Defendant's Exhibit 371 as redacted.
All right, 371 in evidence as redacted, over objection. Yes, ma'am.
If we can publish that to the jury, thank you. So you write, Ms. Heard, to Dr. Cowan, "I feel so lost. I can't talk. I don't know if I'll ever be able to change." Right?
And I said I clearly can't figure this out, meaning the relationship.
You didn't say that. You
I
said,
did.
Not the relationship. Your text messages, "Clearly, I can't figure this out. I feel so lost right now."
What I was saying to him
No,
is
Ms.
clearly I
Heard,
can't
Ms.
figure
Heard,
this
Ms.
out
Heard,
as in
that's
the
not my question.
relationship.
The text, just the text.
That's exactly what I was saying.
What you texted. "Clearly, I can't figure this out. I feel so lost right now."
That's what
right.
I was saying.
Okay. Ms. Heard, do you contend?
Your Honor, just for clarification, so those two next lines did come in.
They are in the redacted
Okay,
copy.
good. All right, thank you.
Ms. Heard, do you contend that there's another incident of abuse in March of 2015 after you and Mr. Depp returned from Australia? Is that correct?
That's correct.
And incident took place on March 23rd, 2015?
That's correct.
And this supposedly occurred in the Penthouse at the Eastern Columbia building?
That's correct.
You had found text messages between Mr. Depp and another woman, right?
That is correct.
So you confronted him about cheating on you.
That's correct.
And this was about 2 weeks after you had returned from Australia.
That's correct.
So this is shortly after Mr. Depp supposedly sexually assaulted you with a bottle, right?
It was 2 weeks after he assaulted me, yes.
And you decided to confront him about cheating on you?
I didn't decide to. I wanted to.
Mr. Depp's finger was freshly injured at this point, right?
He had a cast on it.
The top of his right finger had been cut off 2 weeks prior.
That is correct.
And he had a pin in his finger, true?
I don't recall when the pen was placed.
A skin graft?
I'm not quite sure. He had several different procedures and they were kind of spread out over a period of time. So I don't remember what happened and when
One of those
exactly.
procedures was to treat the MRSA that got on his finger too, right?
At some point, I knew he had an infection.
And his right hand was in a bandage, right?
It was casted.
So it's your testimony that Mr. Depp was able to attack both you and your sister with his hand in that state, right?
That is correct. He had a hard plaster cast on it.
Debbie Lloyd was present in the penthouses when Mr. Depp supposedly attacked you. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
In fact, you claim that Mr. Depp threw a Red Bull can at Miss Lloyd that evening.
Yes, that's correct.
And you put in a sworn statement to that effect in the UK case, right?
That is correct.
But that's not true, is it?
That's what happened.
You know what a deposition is, right, Ms. Heard?
I've had several, yes.
Yeah, so you know it's when someone provides testimony under oath.
That is correct.
You're aware that Miss Lloyd was deposed in connection with this case, correct?
That's true.
And Miss Lloyd's deposition testimony was played earlier in this trial, right?
I'm going to object, Your Honor. May we approach?
All right.
So in a deposition, Ms. Heard, you know it's when someone provides testimony under oath, right?
That's correct.
And you're aware that Miss Lloyd was deposed in connection with this case.
That's correct.
And Miss Lloyd's deposition testimony was played earlier in this trial.
Yes.
So you heard Miss Lloyd testify under oath that Mr. Depp never threw a can of Red Bull at her.
I can't remember if she didn't recall that or if she said it didn't happen. I don't remember. I vaguely sense she didn't recall anything.
So it's your testimony that Miss Lloyd would forget that Mr. Depp, a very famous patient of hers, threw a can of Red Bull that nearly missed her, according to your version of events?
To be fair, I just don't remember if she said when she testified that she didn't recall that incident or if it didn't happen. I don't remember what she testified to. But I have a vague sense that she didn't recall much at all.
She recalled, and she testified in this courtroom, that Mr. Depp never threw a can of Red Bull at her. That was her testimony, wasn't it?
I don't recall what her testimony was with regards to that one incident, no.
You actually filed a complaint against Miss Lloyd's nursing license right before she was supposedly deposed in this case, didn't you?
No, I don't believe I did.
Are you aware that someone filed a complaint against Miss Lloyd's nursing license in connection with her care of Mr. Depp for failing to report abuse?
No, I had no idea. You're the first person to let me know about that.
It's your testimony under oath, that wasn't you?
That is my testimony. I didn't even know about that until now.
Travis McGivern was also present when Mr. Depp supposedly attacked you, correct?
He walked in at some point.
And you heard his testimony that it was actually you who punched Mr. Depp. Isn't that right?
It's always been my own testimony that I hit Johnny.
And you who was throwing things at Mr. Depp.
I hit him in defense of my sister. I didn't have anything to throw at him. I never threw anything at him. I hit him when he attacked me and my sister. Specifically when he moved for her. That's when I hit him.
So it's your testimony under oath. You threw nothing at Mr. Depp. Mr. McGivern's lying.
I have thrown things at Johnny,
No,
to be clear, but not
thrown
that
things
occasion.
that evening.
Not on that occasion.
So it's your testimony, Mr. McGivern imagined that you were throwing things at Mr. Depp from the mezzanine level down towards where Mr. Depp and Mr. McGivern were standing.
Well, he certainly wasn't going to say it about his client.
Ms. Heard, you and Mr. Depp kept a journal together, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
You wrote each other messages in that journal, right?
That is true.
If we could please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 91. I'm only going to be showing you certain portions of this, so if we could please call this Plaintiff's Exhibit 91A. This is the journal that you and Mr. Depp kept with each other in electronic form, correct?
That is correct.
And if we could scroll through, these are all entries that you made in the journal, correct?
Is it done? Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm going to move for the admission of Plaintiff's Exhibit 91A, and I've gone ahead and redacted Mr. Depp's writings as on hearsay grounds.
I'm going to object, Your Honor. May we approach?
Okay.
If we could please publish this to the jury.
91A in evidence.
Thank you.
Over objection.
This is a picture that's on the inside cover of the Love Notebook, correct?
That's correct.
And this is a picture of you and Mr. Depp.
That's correct.
You're in Australia in this picture, aren't you?
Yes, but that's much later once we returned.
You can see that Mr. Depp's right hand is bandaged, right?
Yes, that's correct. That was after it had recovered significantly. That's not what it looked like during the incident we were just talking about.
So this is a picture after the events in Australia in March of 2015, correct?
Yes, that photograph was taken months later.
We have the jury look at that photograph again, please. Let's now turn to page 3. This is a note you wrote in the journal to Mr. Depp, correct?
That's what it looks like, yes.
This is actually the first note you wrote to him in this journal.
I don't remember what the first note was.
The date on this note is May 22nd, 2015, correct?
That is correct. That was during our honeymoon period.
This is just a little bit over 2 months after the events in Australia in March of 2015, right?
That's correct. We were back in a honeymoon phase. That was the period of sobriety I spoke about yesterday.
When after Mr. Depp had allegedly assaulted you with a bottle, right?
It was after the stairs and it was after the Australia incident, yes. And he got clean and sober and we went back to Australia.
It's also 2 months after you punched Mr. Depp because you allegedly thought he was going to throw your sister down the stairs, right?
I hit him when he swung at my sister. And this is written months later, yes.
You thought he was going to throw your sister down the stairs like he had thrown Kate Moss down the stairs, right?
He swung at Whitney, and I had heard a vague rumor about that. And so it's what I thought of.
In this first message to Mr. Depp in your journal, you write, quote, "True love isn't about just the madness of passion or instead picking the safety of peace. No, it's about having both, falling madly in love with your friend. That is what has surprised me perhaps the most, that I have seen in you the true bones of friendship and respect. But of course, I still, perhaps more than ever, want to rip you apart, devour you, and savor the taste. Fret not. XX Slim."
Yes, it's a love note.
Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
And you're Slim, right?
That's correct.
Ms. Hurd, I'm now going to ask you to take a look at the very last entry you wrote in this journal, which seems to be from April 8th. That would be April 8th, 2016, correct?
I'm not quite sure. I don't see the year written on there, and I don't recognize it yet.
It would be a couple weeks. April 8th would be a couple weeks before your birthday, though, right?
That's correct.
Just to confirm, this is a note you wrote to Mr. Depp, right?
That's what it looks like, yes.
And on the second page of this note, you wrote the following, quote, "I'm sorry I can get crazy. I'm sorry I hurt you. Like you, I can get wicked when I am hurt, when I feel provoked, shattered. And last night I was. I felt abandoned about the Lily Rose thing, felt absolutely bewildered about your not coming home on my last night here, and was heartbroken and angry after many attempts in vain on my part to rectify the situation and make amends on the last night of what was otherwise a gorgeous trip with you. I am so sorry for my part. None of this is meant to be an excuse for hurting you, because the truth is, nothing is. There is never a reason good enough to hurt you. You are the last thing in the whole world who deserves it. Last person I ever meant to hurt. I love you, Steve. I am forever yours, Slim." Did I read that correctly?
That's correct.
Ms. Hurd, let's take a look at Defendant's Exhibit 423, which is already in evidence. This is a picture of you with what appears to be straight red marks on your arms, correct?
Those are scars from the broken glass.
And they're straight and red, right?
I disagree with how you characterize that, but they are red, yes.
And they're on your left arm?
Yes, that's correct.
Ms. Hurd, you have a history of cutting yourself, don't you?
I do not.
You cut your arm once as a teenager, isn't that right?
No, I said I wanted to. When I was put on birth control pills when I was a teenager, I felt crazy, and I said I felt suicidal.
Since your testimony under oath that you didn't report to Dr. Hughes, your retained psychologist, that you had cut yourself as a teenager once?
I said I had told my mom that I wanted to when I was a teenager.
Ms. Hurd, we heard some testimony from you yesterday about a trip you and Mr. Depp took on a train in Southeast Asia. Do you recall that?
Yes, that's correct.
That was when you and Mr. Depp went on your honeymoon trip, correct?
That's correct.
And that was in July of 2015?
Yes, that sounds right.
Let's take a look at Plaintiff's Exhibit 162, which is already in evidence. You were here in this courtroom, right, Ms. Hurd, when Malcolm Connolly testified to taking this picture?
That's correct.
This picture shows an injury to Mr. Depp's face, doesn't it?
I disagree. I've seen this picture.
Okay, Ms. Heard,
I've seen
I got
this
the
picture
answer. Thank
before,
you.
and
You
he's
disagree?
not injured in it.
He's not injured in this picture. That's your testimony. Fine.
This one is Photoshop.
Ms. Heard, I have your answer. Thank you. This is the only photograph from your honeymoon that shows someone with an injury, correct?
That's not true.
We haven't seen any photos of injuries to your face from that train trip, have we?
I don't believe my face was injured on that trip.
Let's take a look at Exhibit 91A at page 46, going back to the Love Journal. This is a note from you to Mr. Depp, right?
That is correct.
This is a note you wrote on July 22nd, 2015.
That is correct.
And it starts off with the words, "My husband, happy honeymoon," right?
That's correct.
Ms. Heard, please take a look at Plaintiff's Exhibit 91A at page 67. This is another note from you to Mr. Depp in your journal, right?
That is correct.
And this one is dated August 1st, 2015. And this one is dated August 1st, 2015.
That's correct.
And you write, "That's enough. You've held this book hostage long enough. Although I can't wait to read my note, I also couldn't wait to tell you how much I adore you. What a beautiful, extraordinary, magical, memorable, wonderful, stunning, surprisingly evolving, and impulsive adventure. I couldn't have imagined a more gorgeous honeymoon. I love you more and more every passing day. XX Slim." Did I read that right?
That is correct.
Let's take a look at the journal entry starting on page 68. This is another entry from you writing to Mr. Depp, right?
That is correct.
And this one's dated August 2nd.
That is correct, yes.
And this one is a longer one, so let's go to where it ends on page 70 of the journal. And you write, quote, "I hope that things said in anger and pain were just that, and that you miss and love me too. And that is what matters most to you. You may say you stand by everything you said and did, and that there is nothing you can learn from this, but I don't feel that way. And it's important for me that you know that. I love you and I'm sorry. I miss my warm, loving husband. XX Slim."
That is correct.
And sad, the word sad is crossed out.
That is true.
Next, we have a journal entry from you on page 89. This is another note from you to Mr. Depp.
That is correct. The whole book is love notes.
So this is dated August 15th, correct?
That is correct.
And here you write, quote, "My love, why do we fight? Ever? Why? I love you more than anything else. Are we that uncomfortable with being vulnerable? Were we scared? Or is it something else? I don't know. But I am sure of one thing, and if it's that I can't imagine my life without you. I love you. I will do better. I am sorry. X Slim." Did I read that correctly?
That is correct.
Your testimony, this was a love journal
That is correct. It was primarily love notes and
apology notes from you to Mr. Depp.
The book was more of a love note book, and part of that communication, obviously, since we fought so much, it was important for me to, try to nurture as much peace as we possibly could. And when things were good, they were really good.
And it was also an opportunity for you to apologize to Mr. Depp for your behavior, isn't it?
I think it's important in every relationship to apologize when you're trying to move past fights.
Let's look at an entry from August 17, 2015, starting on page 90. Here you write, quote, "I'm sorry I shook the wheels so hard. I'm sorry we've tested the shocks and brakes to this point. God damn, I love you, Johnny. I love you. I am tied to you forever. You know that? So I'm tasked with making this work for that reason and many others, of which there are many. Let me try to fix this. Let me try to patch this. Let me try to make your heart better. You deserve it. Hell, maybe even I do. I need you. We need each other. You're my cornerstone, my heart, my all. You are my life. I hate it when we fight. I hate having you hurt. I hate that you're hurting. I love you more than anything. Let me prove it. I need you. I love you. Slim. Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, another example of me trying to fix it. I was always trying to fix it.
Fix it by apologizing for your bad behavior?
I tried everything. I tried apologizing, I tried reading, I tried therapists, I tried everything to fix
But
it.
yet you couldn't change like you told Dr. Cowan, right?
I couldn't change my relationship.
Let's talk about December 15th, 2015 again. Erin Filati, your personal nurse, saw you 2 days after the incident on December 15th, 2015. Isn't that right?
She did not see me as in a medical visit. She just dropped off meds in the late at night.
She saw you personally, though, right?
She physically saw me, but did not see me in a medical sense, the way a doctor might see a patient. She did not see me in that way.
She was your personal nurse, right?
She was a nurse assigned to me. I didn't hire her. Johnny did.
She was assigned to you, and so when she would see you, it would be physically in person in your home and traveling, correct?
She would sometimes see me as like a medical professional would, and then other times she would just drop off meds and physically see me, like as in with her eyes.
You testified that during the incident on December 15th, 2015, Mr. Depp broke the bed, correct?
That is correct.
And more specifically, you described that he broke the bed frame with his boot while trying to get purchase. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Let's take a look at Defendant's Exhibit 509, which is already in evidence. If we could please have that published to the jury. Thank you. Ms. Hurd, this is a picture that you indicated depicts the broken bed, right?
That's exactly it.
And it's your testimony that Mr. Depp caused this damage to the bed with his boot, right?
He did.
Is that a pocket knife on the bed there?
I cannot tell what's on the bed.
Did you use that to damage the bed?
I did not damage the bed. Johnny's boot did when he was punching me. I could feel him slipping.
Ms. Hurd, you also testified that there was blood all over the pillows on the bed, correct?
On the pillow top, yes, that's correct.
But you didn't take a picture of that, though, did you?
I did not take a picture of this.
About a week after the December 15th, 2015 incident, you went with Mr. Depp and his children to the island of the Bahamas. Is that correct? To celebrate Christmas?
The incident was on the 15th, and we went on the 23rd, I believe.
While you were there, you did a photo shoot with Greg Williams, correct?
A few days later, I think the photo shoot was about 2 weeks after this assault.
Let's please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 99. This is a photograph of you on Mr. Depp's island shortly after December 15th, 2015, correct?
No, this was taken weeks later.
On the island, on that trip,
It was taken on the island.
on that trip,
Yes,
weeks later.
weeks later.
December 15th, you traveled to the island December 23rd? That's your
It's
testimony?
my recollection that this picture was taken on New Year's Eve or the first day of the year. I think New Year's Eve.
And this is the photo shoot with Greg Williams, correct?
That is correct.
I'm going to move to admit and publish.
No objection?
All right, 99, we can publish.
Can we please have a zoom in to Ms. Hurd's face? Thank you, Tom. Let's please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 100. I'm going to move to admit and publish.
No objection.
All right, 100 in evidence, you can publish.
Ms. Hurd, this is another picture of you from that photo shoot, correct?
Yes, this is the same photo shoot that you asked me about earlier, and this is several weeks later.
Right. If we could zoom in on Ms. Hurd's face. Thank you, Tom. Let's please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 101. And I'm going to move to admit and publish.
Any objection?
Can we just have the foundation first, please?
This is a picture from the photo shoot, Ms. Hurd, that was taken on the island.
This is the same photo shoot, yes.
Then no objection, Your Honor.
All right, 101 in evidence, you can publish.
If we could please zoom in, excuse me, Tom, on Ms. Hurd's face. It's your testimony, Ms. Hurd, that you were wearing makeup for this photo shoot?
That is correct. It's a photo shoot.
If we could please pull up Exhibit 102. Ms. Hurd, is this another picture from the photo shoot?
I can't exactly tell from the background. It looks like the same thing, but I can't really tell without it being zoomed out.
This is a picture of you, though, right?
It is a picture of me, yes.
I'm going to move to admit and publish.
All right, any objection?
I'm not going to object because she identified herself. I just, if she could identify when it was taken, that would help. But I'm not going to object. I'm not
No,
gonna object.
no objection.
No objection.
Okay, there we go. 102 in evidence, you can publish.
Let's please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 103.
03.
Ms. Hurd, this is yet another picture of you from that Greg Williams photo shoot, correct?
That is correct. This is from the same shoot.
I'm going to move to admit and publish.
No
All
objection.
right, 103 in evidence, publish.
And again, if we could zoom in on Ms. Hurd's face. And finally, if we could please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 104. And Ms. Hurd, this is a picture of you from that photo shoot, correct?
Again, this is the same photo shoot weeks later.
I'm going to move to admit and publish.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, 104 in evidence, thank you.
Again, if we could zoom in on Ms. Hurd's face. Thank you, Tom. You testified that you and Mr. Depp got into a fight while on the island in December of 2015, correct?
That's correct.
And this all started because you perceived Mr. Depp as nodding off during the trip, right?
I thought he was passing out again in a similar fashion to what he had done the previous year.
And when he nodded off, he spilled wine on you, correct?
Yeah, 2-3 times in a row.
You testified that Mr. Depp's son, Jack, was there when this happened, right?
At the beginning, he was there.
He was there when Mr. Depp allegedly spilled wine on you 2 or 3 times, right?
He was there for that because he offered me help.
Right. You also testified that Mr. Depp then sexually assaulted you in the bathroom, correct?
That's correct.
And you testified that after this, you needed to get away from him, right?
That is correct.
So you ran out of the house.
That's correct.
And you admit you threw something at him, right?
I did throw something at him to get away.
You sat in this courtroom when Tara Roberts testified, right, Ms. Hurd?
I did.
She's Mr. Depp's manager on the island.
Yes, that's correct.
And you heard her testify that she witnessed an argument between you and Mr. Depp on the island in December of 2015, right?
Yes, that's correct, yes.
And you heard her testify that Mr. Depp was trying to escape you, right?
I don't know if she characterized it like that, but that was the gist of it. She kind of misrepresented it to seem like that, yes.
She misrepresented it. How convenient.
That's correct.
Okay, and then you kept apologizing to Mr. Depp, right? That's what
No, that's
Ms.
not
Roberts
correct.
said? Begging him to come back to the house with you.
That's not correct.
Clawing at him. She used those words.
That's not correct. When she interrupted us, Johnny had me by the hair.
Yelling at him.
We were screaming, both of us, but I don't know what she would have heard.
And that she observed an injury on Mr. Depp's nose from something that you threw at him, right?
I don't know what she observed.
You also heard Ms. Roberts testify that she included all this information in a sworn statement in the UK in May of 2020. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
You put in a witness statement in response to Ms. Roberts' statement in June of 2020. Isn't that correct? In the UK?
I did several, I think 7 witness statements, and each one contained different information as per recent filings. That's what counsel has you do in that.
And in response to
case.
previous filings, correct? Including testimony from people that contradict your story?
Sort of. So what you have to do is your counsel asks you to respond to things and you put it in a declaration of sorts, and that happens back and forth over the course of preparing to go to trial in that country. And that's what I did.
So that was your 5th witness statement submitted in the UK.
I don't recall which one I was asked to comment on Tara Roberts' testimony.
I'll remind you. If we could have Ms. Heard's 5th witness statement from the UK. May I approach her?
Yes, ma'am. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Directing your attention, Ms. Heard, to page 6 of your 5th witness statement. It's here that you describe the December 2015 incident, correct, on the island?
I haven't read through the statement. I just don't know if I had commented on it before. In a previous witness statement, as I said, there were several.
But starting on page 6, Ms. Heard, you describe the incident that took place on the island, correct?
That's correct, but what I'm trying to say is I'm not sure if I'd describe it in full in this statement.
Okay. I'm going to show you your confidential schedule to the 5th witness statement that accompanied the 5th witness statement in the UK. Ms. Redhoff? May I approach?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
In the confidential schedule to your 5th witness statement, paragraph 1 on page 21, you describe Mr. Depp sexually assaulting you in the Bahamas of December 2015, right?
That is correct.
And that's the first time you ever claimed that Mr. Depp had sexually assaulted you in the Bahamas.
That is incorrect.
You only submitted the confidential schedule in the UK claiming Mr. Depp had sexually assaulted you after Ms. Roberts had said that she saw you on the island chasing, clawing at Mr. Depp. Isn't that correct?
That is incorrect.
If we could please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 394. So, Your Honor, this is another recording I can represent to the court. This only contains Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard's voices. I'm going to move to admit the entire recording. I'm only going to play from 1:1744 through 1:20:02.
All right, any objection?
Which plaintiff exhibit, Your Honor? I'm
394.
394.
I think I have no objection. to
All
that,
right,
Your Honor.
I'll go with that. All right, 394 in evidence.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I say when I say I'm going to try and change X, Y, and Z thing or work on blah, 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 I can only do those things. And since I have been doing those things,
What things have you been doing?
working on these things, not doing certain things, trying to change certain things. Last several times we discussed.
Hence, screaming when I spilt wine accidentally on you for falling asleep, and screaming in front of my kids and freaking Jack out. And that's trying.
I would appreciate. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Johnny.
That fucked him up, you know.
I'm sorry I fucked your son up.
No, it weirded him out. He'd never,
I'm so sorry I fucked your kids up.
he didn't fuck my kids up, but
I'm
it
so
was pretty fucking weird for him, you know.
Because I jumped up and screamed at everyone. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm surprised he's so you're going for the counselor. I'm sure that's terrifying.
I don't need your
No, right, your poor kid.
your clever
Son against me again.
comebacks.
That's so-
No, you think you're
weak.
controlling
Your
yourself.
character
You
is-
think you're controlling
Your
yourself.
character has become so clear, especially when you use them. It's embarrassing for you. I'm going to walk away now because you're actually making me see you even worse. And believing me, I'm not going to be calling you at 3 o'clock in the morning after I've had an Ambien and think, I'm going to just fucking forgive and move on. Trust me. It is gross how you're using the kids. I've done nothing but be there for them in a good way. And if you take that for granted, fine. Fine. You're right. Meet a woman who would not jump up and scream if she'd been spilled on 3 times in a row. And I hope you're happy with whoever that is. Because that would be a special kind of fucking person. No doubt.
It's you and Mr. Depp in that recording, right?
That's correct.
And you're discussing what happened in the Bahamas in December of 2015, right?
No, that's not correct. We were discussing a part of it.
You're discussing when you screamed at Mr. Depp in front of his children, correct?
No, we were talking about a part of that argument.
Including when you screamed at Mr. Depp in front of his children.
That's not a fair characterization of what happened.
Mr. Depp says you screamed at him when he accidentally spilled wine on you, correct?
I realize that's what Johnny said.
Yeah. And Mr. Depp tells you that this freaked out his son, Jack.
Johnny often used other people to back him up in our arguments.
You don't seem too concerned about that, do you?
I had a lot of concerns.
You don't mention Mr. Depp sexually assaulting you in this recording, do you?
That was not the point of that conversation. If I had gotten into the details of what happened to me with him, it would have been another fight.
You just accused Mr. Depp of, quote, using his kids, right? In that
He
recording.
would often use other people, yes.
And you challenge him to find a woman who will not, quote, jump up and scream if she has been spilled on 3 times in a row.
That is correct.
Not a woman who would put up with sexual abuse, right?
I was pointing out the ridiculous nature of him expecting me not to react to something that basic.
Your Honor, would this be a good time for a break?
All right, we can do that. That's
Thank
fine.
you, Your Honor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and take our morning recess for 15 minutes. Do not discuss the case with anybody. Don't do any outside research. We'll see you in 15, okay? All right. Let's go ahead and come back at 10:47 then. All right, 10:47. Thank you.
All right.
Ms. Heard, you just testified that this case has been very hard for you. So let's talk about that and why.
All right.
Your lies have been exposed to the world multiple times, right?
I haven't lied about anything I've been here to say.
You sat here and told this jury that the events in Hicksville started with Mr. Depp getting really upset about a woman leaning on you. Is that correct?
Yes, that's effectively what happened, yeah.
You testified that he actually grabbed that woman's wrist and twisted it, right?
And told her that he could effectively break her wrist by saying he knew how many pounds of pressure, or asking her how many pounds of pressure it took to break a human wrist.
But your own witness, your former best friend, Rocky Pennington, she didn't corroborate that, did she?
I'm not quite sure what part of that night she saw. There were a lot of people there.
She didn't testify that Mr. Depp grabbed anyone's wrist in Hicksville.
Again, I don't know what Rocky saw. There were a lot of people there that night.
You testified that once you brought Mr. Depp back to your trailer, he trashed it, correct?
That is correct.
And the manager of the Hicksville trailer park was furious that Johnny had wrecked the whole thing. Do you remember that testimony?
That's correct.
Well, we heard from that manager of the Hicksville trailer park, Morgan Knight, on Monday, didn't we?
I'm not quite sure who that guy was or if he had any involvement in this. I know a lot of people have come out of the woodwork to be involved.
So you're accusing Mr. Knight of testifying and committing perjury?
I'm not accusing anyone. I just don't recognize that man.
You heard Mr. Knight testify that it was actually you who was upset with Mr. Depp spending time away from him. Isn't that correct?
How would he know? He wasn't there.
You heard Mr. Knight testify that it was actually you who was yelling at Mr. Depp.
Again, I've heard a lot of people say a lot of things to be involved in the Johnny Depp show, but he wasn't there. He doesn't know. And he certainly doesn't know what happened behind closed doors, like most people.
So you're calling Mr. Knight a liar?
I am saying he wasn't there, and what he testified to doesn't match what I know happened. But I don't fault him. He wasn't there, so how would he know?
He testified he was there, Ms. Heard. Did you hear that?
That's his testimony, yes.
So you're calling him a liar?
I'm just saying he wasn't there.
You heard Mr. Knight testify that the trailer wasn't trashed, and that's why you're calling him a liar.
He testified that a light fixture was broken, similar to the way that
Yes,
Johnny's
other than a light
employees
fixture. That
testified
was the
to
only
my
thing that was
closet
broken,
being
right,
rearranged
Ms. Heard?
and things
Ms.
like
Heard,
that.
the only thing that was broken in the trailer, according to Mr. Knight, was a light fixture. Yes or no?
I realized that he summed it up by saying a light fixture was broken, just the way his security guard summed up him trashing my closet as being rearranged.
Your Honor, I'm going to move to strike everything after he summed it up, that it was a light fixture, as non-responsive.
She answered the question, Your Honor.
Overruled.
In the security guard testimony, Your Honor?
I'll allow it. Go ahead.
Mr. Knight also testified that he charged Mr. Depp only $62 for the damaged light fixture. You heard that, correct?
I did.
In Hicksville, you were the only one that was jealous that Mr. Depp was spending time from other people. Isn't that correct, Ms. Heard?
That is incorrect.
In Hicksville, you were the one who was upset that Mr. Depp wasn't giving you enough attention.
Incorrect again.
Ms. Heard, you told this jury that you had no idea the press was going to be at the courthouse when you got your TRO on May 27th, 2016. Do you remember that testimony?
I said I did not have anything to do with it. Yes.
No. My question again. You told this jury that you had no idea that the press was going to be outside after you got the ex-party TRO on May 27th, 2016. Do you remember that testimony?
I apologize. I must have misunderstood Ms. Vasquez. I actually had no idea whether they were going to be there or not. When I walked into the courtroom that day, it was completely quiet, still, empty. Even though I had given Johnny's team notice that I was filing the
Objection.
TRO,
Your Honor, this is not
we had no
responsive.
reason to
Move to
believe the
strike.
press knew.
And Your Honor, I would also ask that you instruct the witness to please stop talking once I lodge an objection.
Your Honor, she's trying to answer the question as best she can, and Ms. Vasquez is misrepresenting to her what she testified to.
Well, I'll strike the last part as
Thank you,
non-responsive.
Your Honor.
Just if you could answer the questions asked. Okay, thank you, Ms. Heard.
In fact, you testified that you were, quote, shocked when you saw press when you were leaving the courthouse. Yes?
Yes.
You weren't shocked at all, though, were you?
Incorrect. It was
You knew the press
horrifying.
would be at the courthouse, right, Ms. Heard?
No.
Well, you did bring your publicist to the courthouse with you on May 27th, 2016, didn't you?
I sure did. I'm a public figure. I brought my publicist in case it blew up. in case. And
You
I'm
actually
glad
had
I did.
alerted TMZ that you would be filing a TRO against Mr. Depp that very day,
No, I did
didn't
not.
you?
No, I did
The
not.
one day you didn't bother to wear makeup to cover up the mark on your face.
I did not call TMZ or any other news source or paparazzi source. No one.
Well,
I
we
never
heard
did that.
testimony from former TMZ employee Morgan Tremaine yesterday, correct?
Did I hear his testimony?
Yes.
Yes, I was here.
Yes. And you heard Mr. Tremaine's testimony that he knew to dispatch the paparazzi to the courthouse on May 27th, right?
I heard him say that he knew that, yes.
Yeah, and that he dispatched paparazzi to the courthouse to capture a picture of an alleged bruise on the right side of your face. Do you remember him saying that?
I remember him saying that.
That information must have come from your team, right, Ms. Heard?
Absolutely not. Why would I want that? What actual survivor of domestic violence wants that?
Now, the video of Mr. Depp beating up some kitchen cabinets, you admit that you took that video, correct?
Yes, I did.
Right. And you acknowledge that the video was released online the day before you were deposed in connection with your divorce from Mr. Depp in August of 2016, right?
I believe it was, yes.
But you testified that you had absolutely nothing to do with the video's release, right?
Absolutely not.
And you testified that you learned about it when you landed after flying into LA. Do you remember that testimony?
Upon touchdown is when I was alerted to the video's
You
existence
heard Mr.
online.
Tremaine testify that about this video as well yesterday, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And you heard Mr. Tremaine testify that TMZ received the cabinet video the same day you landed at LAX. Yes?
I don't know if I don't know if that's what his testimony was. I'm sorry.
You heard Mr. Tremaine testify that the cabinet video was posted 15 minutes after TMZ received it. Yes?
That's what I heard him say.
And that this could only have been possible if the video was received directly from the source. Yes?
I heard him say that. I don't know if that's true or if that's possible because
And
it
you
didn't
heard
come from me. I was
Mr.
flying.
Tremaine
So
testify.
I know that's incorrect is what I mean to say.
Another liar on the stand.
I just know that that's incorrect.
Right. And you heard Mr. Tremaine testify that TMZ owns the copyright to the cabinet video, right?
That's news to me.
The cabinet video you filmed of your then husband. Yes?
The copyright ownership of that is news to me. I learned that yesterday.
It's the cabinet video that you captured of your then husband. Yes?
That is correct. I did capture that video, and
The
yes,
cabinet
that was
video-
my husband.
The same cabinet video that was released the night before you were deposed in your divorce. Yes?
That's correct.
You must have also heard Mr. Tremaine testify that the version of the cabinet video that TMZ received was incomplete compared to the video the jury saw in this trial. Did you hear that?
The video that that you have seen is complete.
Right. But the one TMZ got the day before your deposition in the divorce was incomplete.
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
He testified that at the beginning portion of the video where you set up the camera, that wasn't included in the video that TMZ received.
I don't know what video TMZ
I'm talking
received.
about Mr. Tremaine's testimony, Ms. Heard. Let's just
So you're
focus on
asking me
Mr.
to
Tremaine.
repeat his testimony?
No, I'm asking you if you recall hearing him say those words to this jury.
Yes,
Under
I
oath.
heard his testimony. We all did.
And he testified that the end of the video where you can be seen smirking. I know you testified earlier that you haven't been smirking in this trial, but you sure were caught on camera smirking in that video.
I disagree with that.
Was also not included in the TMZ video.
Everyone can watch that video and you can determine whether you think it's funny to me or not.
That's because the video came from you, right, Ms. Heard?
No, it did not.
You
That
edited
video
out
did
the
not
portions.
come to me.
Ms.
Come
Heard,
from me.
Ms. Heard, you edited out the portions that made you look bad before sending it to TMZ.
You're very wrong about that.
So that
if I
only
wanted to
Mr.
leak
Depp
information, I
looked
could have
bad.
done it in a more effective way, a lot sooner and a lot more.
Because you
I
knew
was
exactly
living
how
with
to
a
do that,
mountain
right?
of this evidence. If I wanted to leak it, I could have done a lot more with it.
I thought you testified earlier in this trial that you didn't know how to leak things.
I
Remember
don't.
that? Right. You edited that video before you gave it to TMZ so that only Mr. Depp would look bad. Yes?
That's absurd.
Right in the middle of your divorce proceedings.
Again, you're very wrong.
I'd like to show you a picture that's already admitted into evidence. It's Defendant's Exhibit 799. This is you at the courthouse on May 27th, 2016, when you got your domestic violence restraining order against Mr. Depp, right?
It is.
And next to you is a woman named Jody Gottlieb, right?
Yes.
Jody Gottlieb is your publicist.
And dear friend.
Now I'd like to show you what's been marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 1316. This is a picture of you and your friend Rocky Pennington, right?
That is correct.
Your Honor, I'd like to move to admit this photograph.
Any objection to 1316?
No, Your Honor.
All right, 1316 in evidence. You can publish to the jury.
This is a picture of you on May 28th, 2016, right, Ms. Heard?
I don't know when this was taken.
This is the day after you obtained the domestic violence restraining order against Mr. Depp, right?
I have no idea when this image was taken. I did not take it.
There's no bruise on your face in this picture, is there?
Again, I don't know when this was taken, and also I'm outside. I was obviously wearing makeup. I have no idea when this was taken, so I have no idea if I can
Let's
speak
refresh
to
your
what
recollection.
bruise you can see
Let's
or
refresh
not.
your recollection about when this picture was taken. Can we please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 1315, just for the witness? This is an article dated May 30th, 2016, right, Ms. Heard?
That's what it says, yes.
And this article contains the same photograph of you and Ms. Pennington we were just looking at, yes?
Yes, I see that.
And the article is entitled, Amber Heard Smiles as She Puts Arm Around Friend One Day After Getting Restraining Order Against Johnny Depp. Is that what the title says?
I know that's what the title says, yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to move to admit and publish the article with everything but the headline and date and the photo redacted.
Objection, Your Honor. That's inconsistent from the way you've treated all of these.
I'll sustain the objection. All right, next question.
Let's take a look at picture Plaintiff's Exhibit 1317. This is also a picture of you and Ms. Pennington on May 28th, 2016, isn't it?
I don't know when this photo was taken, but it looks like the same outing as the picture prior.
Your Honor, I'm going to move to admit and publish Plaintiff's Exhibit 1317.
Any objection?
No, Your
All
Honor.
right, 1317 in evidence. You can publish.
There's no bruise on your face in this picture either, right?
I disagree. If it is taken when you represent it was taken, then obviously there's a bruise on my face. It's covered by makeup, as per usual.
Let's zoom out of that picture for a moment, please. Thanks, Tom. That's Josh Drew in this picture, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And Ms. Pennington
That is correct.
in there too? Ms.
That is
Pennington
correct.
submitted a sworn statement on your behalf in support of your domestic violence restraining order, didn't she?
I believe she did, yes.
Mr. Drew also submitted a statement in support of your domestic violence restraining order.
I believe they both did, yes.
Ms. Heard, I'd like to show you Defendant's Exhibit 512, which is already in evidence. You've seen this photograph before, right?
I have.
On the second day of your direct testimony, you testified that this was taken in the downstairs of the main apartment on December 15th, 2015. Do you recall that testimony?
Yes, I believe so.
So it's your testimony that Defendant's Exhibit 512 reflects damage to Penthouse 5 that occurred during the December 15th, 2015 incident. Yes?
I'm not quite sure from what incident this is when I see this photo in a vacuum without context.
Let's give you that context. Can we please, thanks, if I could have day 16 trial testimony? Your Honor, may we approach?
All right.
Could you please turn first to page 4585?
Sorry, one second.
Specifically starting on line 16, where it says, let's talk about December 15th, 2015.
You said 458. Oh, I'm on 4485. Sorry, you said 4585.
4585.
Pardon.
line 16. Line 16 where it says, let's talk about December 15th, 2015. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. And then do you see that your testimony about December 15th, 2015 follows?
Let's see. It's just the first line or two. Yes.
Okay. Now I'd like you to turn to page 4603. Starting at line 12. 4603. Starting at line 12 and going on to page 4604, line 4.
Okay.
And do you see that you testify that Defendant's Exhibit 512, which is on the screen,
Yes.
is a picture of the downstairs of the main apartment?
That's correct.
And the main apartment is Penthouse 5 in the Eastern Columbia building, right?
No, well, depends on what. The main apartment's Penthouse 3, generally, when we say main apartment.
Penthouse 5 was where you had your closet?
The downstairs was kind of like had some of my painting studio set up and a reception area. Upstairs was the closet. Mezzanine office was in between.
All right, so it's your testimony that Defendant's Exhibit 512 reflects damage to the penthouse, Penthouse 5, that occurred during the December 15th, 2015 incident, right?
I'm just not sure from which incident this is a picture of, since I'm only looking at
Even
a
though your
partial
counsel
floor.
was asking you questions about December 15th, 2015, and then admitted this picture into evidence
Again,
in
in my
relation to that incident.
Sorry, go ahead.
In relation to that incident on December 15th, 2015. This exhibit, Defendant's Exhibit, you are the defendant, number 512, was admitted into evidence in this court. You testified that this was the result of damage that occurred on December 15th, 2015. Yes or no?
I just need to orient myself because I'm just looking at a picture of a partial
No,
picture of a
Ms.
floor.
Hurd, you didn't just
so
look
I
at a
can't.
picture. You looked at your testimony.
You pointed me towards the page and then asked me a question. I haven't actually reviewed it. I don't know if this was submitted in relation to that incident.
Let's actually leave up Defendant's 512 and please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 725, which is already in evidence
All right, thank you.
in redacted form, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. You can publish.
Just side by side. You've seen this photograph as well, right?
I have.
On the third day of your direct testimony, you testified that this photograph reflected spilled wine in Penthouse 5 on May 21st, 2016, didn't you?
Again, I don't know because I'm looking at a partial picture of a floor. So unless you remove the metadata you've covered up, we could then tell. If you
I didn't cover it up, Your Honor.
Could we unredact
Your Honor
them
did.
so we could get context?
That's how it's in evidence.
That's how it's in evidence.
Next question.
Well, the metadata next to it is so that
Ms.
to
Hurd,
avoid this
Ms.
sort of
Hurd,
confusion.
there is no question pending, and I would appreciate it if you wouldn't be making argument to the jury.
Sorry, I
It's
thought you had
inappropriate.
asked me about it.
No, I didn't ask you about anything. Let's look at your direct testimony from the third day.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's turn to page 4750 in day 17 transcript.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
4750. Specifically line 16. Do you see where Ms. Bredehoff asked you to describe for the jury what took place on May 21st, 2016?
I see that.
And do you see that your testimony is reflected about May 21, 2015?
Yes.
That follows? Okay.
Yes.
Now let's turn to page 4804 at line 14. 4804. Starting at line 14
Yes.
through 4805, line 4.
Going to what line?
Line 4 at 4805. Do you see that you're testifying that Defendant's Exhibit 725, which is reflected on the right side, reflects spilled wine on the floor in Penthouse 5?
That's correct.
Okay. And Defendant's Exhibit 512 and 725 seem to be different versions of the same picture, don't they?
That's correct.
Okay. So which is it? Which one was taken on December 15th, 2015, or May 21st, 2016?
If you remove the redacted metadata, you can find out. It's right there.
Or if you're telling the truth, you would know.
Recognize a portion of spilled wine on a floor, and I'm supposed to know off the top of my head when you've
No.
lived through 5 years of this stuff? I don't think so. That's not how that works.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. Ms. Hurd, at the beginning of your cross-examination
Your
last
Honor, may
week,
we approach?
Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen in the gallery, I would ask that there be no words or no phrases, no words, no sounds at all coming from you. If I hear one more sound, I will clear the gallery and we will continue this testimony without anybody in the courtroom. Understood? Good. All right, your next question.
Ms. Hurd, at the beginning of your cross-examination last week, I showed you an audio where you told Mr. Depp to tell the jury, tell the judge, tell the world that he is a victim of domestic abuse. Do you remember that?
That's correct.
And you testified you found it hard to believe that Mr. Depp would tell the world that he's a victim of domestic abuse, didn't you?
I said I find it hard to believe that he would do that knowing that he himself had beat me up for 5 years.
But he has told the world that he's your victim of domestic abuse, hasn't he?
Well, he started to say that only recently. He didn't make that claim up until very recently. So when we signed our divorce agreement and we signed a statement saying that neither party had ever said false claims for financial gain, it was relevant and important to me because I was the only one making the accusations. I was the only one making those claims. He wasn't doing that at the time, and he signed his name to it.
You didn't expect as many people to show up and testify on his behalf that did you?
Incorrect.
When you told this jury under oath that you never assaulted, actually, struck that, sorry. When you told this jury under oath that you punched Mr. Depp because you thought of Mr. Depp pushing Kate Moss down the stairs, you didn't expect Ms. Moss to agree to testify that never happened, did you?
Incorrect. I know how many people will come out of the woodwork to be in support of Johnny.
So you think Ms. Moss needs to come out of the
woodwork
woodwork to testify for Mr. Depp?
Everybody who was around in the 90s and the early aughts knew that rumor. I had heard that rumor from multiple people. Of course, that's what flashed through my head when my violent husband not only swung for me, but all of a sudden swung for my sister. Of course I thought of that. I did not expect her to show up or not expect her to show up. It didn't matter. It doesn't change what I believed at the time when we were on the stairs and I thought he was going to kill my sister by pushing her down the stairs.
You told this jury under oath that Mr. Depp was aggressive and trashed a trailer in Hicksville. You didn't expect the manager of the Hicksville property, Morgan Knight, to come forward and testify that that was untrue, did you?
Incorrect. I've already been through trials with this man. I know how many people will come out in support of him.
When you told this jury under oath that you had no idea that the paparazzi would be at the courthouse on May 27th, 2016, you didn't expect a TMZ employee to show up to testify that TMZ had been alerted that you would be at the courthouse and knew exactly which side of your face to take a picture of, did you?
I know how many people will come out and say whatever for him. That's his power. That's why I wrote the op-ed. I was speaking to that phenomenon. How many people will come out in support of him and will fall to his power? He is a very powerful man, and people love currying favor with powerful men.
Currying
and I know
favor
that
and
firsthand. I've
risking
lived
jail
it.
time for committing perjury?
Excuse me? I didn't hear your
You
question.
didn't hear
Excuse
my
me?
question?
Ms. Vasquez, if you do
Curry-
mind, please just repeat the question. I didn't hear you.
Curry favor and commit perjury in this courtroom?
I have
For a
seen people
powerful
do this.
man?
I have seen people do this time and time again. That's why I wrote the op-ed.
You didn't expect Ben King, the house manager in Australia, to show up from England. He flew from England to testify that Mr. Depp's fingertip was found exactly where he said it would be. Did you?
I have never heard Johnny testify to knowing where his finger was, or really, frankly, making a claim that he knew where it was when it was found. I've never heard Johnny claim that.
You didn't expect
Johnny
Keenan
doesn't-
Wyatt.
Johnny has never
Ms.
actually
Heard.
said that.
Ms. Heard.
And
I think the
Ben
jury
King,
can,
yes.
Ms. Heard, there's no question pending. You didn't expect Keenan Wyatt, Mr. Depp's longtime sound technician, to show up and testify that Mr. Depp is not being fed lines through his earpieces, but instead music, did you?
Not that it matters much, but of course I did. I know how his employees treat him.
So you
I know how
probably-
his team treats him. Of course I expected that.
Okay, so you probably expected Isaac Baruch to come and testify for Mr. Depp, right?
I'm not sure I thought about that.
Yeah. But you didn't expect Mr. Baruch to weep for Mr. Depp after what you've put him through and so many others with your lies.
Please state your name and your business address.
Tyler Haddon, 1546 West Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, Los Angeles, California.
Sir, what is your occupation?
I'm a police officer for the city of Los Angeles.
And how long have you been a police officer with the city of Los Angeles?
Approximately 5.5 years.
Did you serve in any law enforcement capacity prior to coming to the LAPD?
No.
When you said approximately 5.5 years, do you recall approximately you started employment with the LAPD?
Approximately November of 2015.
Did you attend the police academy prior to November 2015, or did you attend it after you became employed by the LAPD in November of 2015?
Could we turn
I
that
began the
volume?
academy in 2015, that November.
That volume's a little loud.
And how long were you with the academy?
Approximately 6 months.
And when did you start as a patrol officer with the LAPD?
6 months after November.
Can you recall your date when you started patrol?
I don't recall the exact date, no.
And that would be end of May of 2016?
Correct.
And was the first training officer that you worked with on patrol Melissa Syons?
Yes.
Question, when did you first have body-worn video assigned to you?
I'm not sure of the exact date.
Approximately when?
Approximately 3 months into working patrol. So maybe during the summertime.
The summer of 2016?
Correct.
When you started working with Melissa Syons as your training officer, did Officer Syons have body-worn video?
Not at the time I worked with her.
How much training did you have on domestic violence while you were at the academy?
I don't recall the exact amount of time.
Approximately how much?
20 hours, approximately.
Okay. So just to make sure that I understand, because you had a few disjointed questions and answers. So it was your understanding as of May 2016 that if you answered a call for domestic violence and there was evidence of a crime, even if the victim did not want to press charges, that you had to take a report. Is that correct?
If there's evidence of a crime, yes.
So your best recollection today is that you had been on patrol as a probationary officer somewhere between a week and 3 weeks before answering the May 21, 2016 domestic violence call at Eastern Columbia building. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do you recall any of the other incidents that you reported to that evening of May 21st, 2016?
No.
At all? Any part of them?
Nope.
So this was new for you working with Officer Science, is that correct?
Correct.
And as the probationary officer, then you would defer to Officer Science, is that fair?
Correct.
And if you could just describe to me what your understanding of Officer Science role was to you as your training officer in May 2016.
To teach me and guide me on how to complete the duties of being a law enforcement officer.
Officer Haddon, under your understanding of the LAPD rules in 2016, if a victim of domestic violence said that the altercation was only verbal, would that require you to write a report?
No.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you to take a look at the first page of what has been marked as deposition exhibit number 1, number 3, my apologies. And this is an incident recall. What is your understanding of what this document is, Officer Haddon?
It's essentially what is given to us on our computer.
And what do you mean is given to us on our computer?
In our car.
Right, so what happens?
So when we're assigned a radio call, the radio call comes to our computer in our car, and this is what we see on our screen, but in a different format.
Now, how was this particular call characterized by the dispatch, at least initially?
Initially, it was dispatched as a domestic radio call.
Okay. And what does domestic radio call mean to you?
That there's some type of, whether it's disagreement all the way up to a violent crime that's occurred between two people that are in some type of relationship or have some children in common.
So, Officer Haddon, this comes out into the system and it's accessible by all of the LAPD black and whites that are on patrol that night, correct?
Yes, whoever is logged in and working that night, I could look up any division's radio calls if I wanted to.
And then it has a DS and then ER after stat. What does that mean?
DS means dispatched. ER means we're en route.
So at 8:46 and 37 seconds p.m., your vehicle was en route to 849 South Broadway, correct?
Correct.
Do you recall how far away you were?
I do not recall.
And then it says primary unit, PD 1A1-W3. What is that?
That's my call assignment. So the PD is police department. 1A1 is my car assignment. W3 means I work watch 3.
Okay. Then we have at 20:57, which is 8:57 p.m., that is AS. What does that mean?
At scene. Like we're there.
All right. So you arrived at the scene at 8:57 p.m., correct?
Correct.
What did you do then?
We walked to the location.
Do you recall anything that you did before you went up to the penthouse?
We walked in and met with security who showed us where the elevator was.
Did you do anything else?
Not that I recall.
But your best recollection is that you went in, you talked to security, and then you went on an elevator, is that right?
Yes.
do you recall what time you arrived at the apartment, the penthouse?
No, I don't recall.
All right. Then your next entry here is 21:22. So that would be 9:22 p.m. and 57 seconds?
Yeah.
Okay. Met with victim, checked lock, verified husband left location, victim advised verbal. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Who wrote that?
That's what we write when we put the comments of the call of what happened in the radio call. That's what we wrote.
So do you recall whether that was you that wrote that or Officer Science?
I don't recall who wrote it.
All right. And so you were back in your vehicle by 9:22, is that correct?
Approximately, yeah.
Well, if you wrote this at 9:22, would it be fair to say you were back in your vehicle writing this?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you take a report?
We issued a business card.
I asked, did you take a report?
No,
Why not?
because the victim didn't request a report, and during our investigation, we didn't reveal that we need to take a report.
So who decided to use the words victim advised verbal dispute?
Whoever created the comments of the call used the word victim. Whoever gave the comments of the call used the word victim. So I don't know who that was.
And I'm even more specifically asking who chose the language advised verbal dispute.
It was either my partner or I. I don't recall who.
Now, what is the significance of writing down verbal dispute?
We're writing what happened, what we believe is happening, and what our investigation revealed.
But you were not present at any time when Ms. Heard discussed whether there was any type of verbal argument. Is that correct?
Was I there? Yes. Was I speaking to her? No.
Was there any discussion of verbal argument in your presence when you were up in the penthouse investigating?
Not that I recall.
You did not hear Ms. Heard say that it was only a verbal dispute, correct?
I did not.
Now, I asked you a little earlier if it's a verbal dispute, whether that triggers having to write a report. And you indicated that it does not. Am I accurately characterizing that?
Correct.
Okay. Now, here, in addition to the victim advised verbal dispute, says and refused to give any further information. You see that?
Yes.
Question, okay, so if the victim does not want to press charges and advises that it's a verbal dispute, then that would not trigger you writing a report. Is that your understanding of LAPD?
Policies and procedures on domestic violence at that time.
Correct. There were other circumstances that were also within this incident as well.
What do you mean by that?
During our investigation, we had other reasons to believe that this was true.
I'm sorry, during your investigation, you had other reasons to believe what was true.
That it was a verbal dispute.
And what did you have during your investigation that created in your mind evidence that it was only a verbal dispute?
After discussing the investigation with my partner at the scene, the Ms. Heard refused any medical treatment and had no visible injuries. There was no sign of struggle, and the victim, the witness that was there that I spoke with was uncooperative as well.
Anything else?
At this time, that's all.
Okay. Now, you recall seeing that Ms. Heard was in tears and was crying and red-faced. Would you agree?
Correct. From a distance.
Well, from a distance, Ms. Heard was in tears, crying, and had a red face, correct?
Correct.
Why did you issue a business card?
It's part of our policy. We're supposed to issue a business card, and it shows that we are there and completed an investigation. And if she would like us to come back, we offered that assistance that we can come back at another time if she feels like she needs us to come back.
Did you take any notes at all?
Note of what?
Notes during the time that you were investigating this call?
No.
Did you take any notes after you got back down to your car about the call?
No.
Did you take any pictures?
No.
Did you record anything?
No.
Would it be fair to say that on 5/21/2016 at 9:22 p.m., you and your training officer, Science, considered this incident closed?
I said, yes, that is correct. At that time, we pressed enter and the call went off my screen, meaning it was completed.
Did you ever have anything come up on your screen again relating to this incident that evening?
Not that I recall.
All right. At the time that you closed out this incident on your screen at 9:22 on 5/21/2016, did you know that this call involved Johnny Depp?
No.
Did you, at the time that you closed this out on your screen, did you recognize Amber Heard?
No, I had no idea who she was.
And is it fair to say that you considered these people to be, quote, just citizens, end of quote?
That's correct.
Do you have any communications at all with Officer Gatlin or his patrol partner the night of May 21st, 2016?
No, not that I recall.
So the next thing we're going to go to is the CAD summary, which is at page 12 of exhibit number 3. And this is a CAD summary report, and it also has the name DFAR report at the top, and it's for 5/21/2016, and says specifically Officers Haddon and Officer Sines. Do you see that?
Yes.
Typically, when you would arrive for your shift, was there a period of time that you would do things maybe at the precinct or whatever before you get into your vehicle and log on and go forward?
Yes.
All right. What?
And then go and find out if there's any radio calls pending.
Okay. And so how long would it typically take for you to do all those things, from putting your uniform on through the time you start checking for radio calls?
I'm not sure. Approximately an hour.
All right. How many police officers, patrol officers were part of that roll call?
I don't know the exact number. I would say approximately 30.
Okay. And when you said you had to stand in line to check out your equipment, was it all 30 of those patrol officers that would get in line and check out their equipment?
Yes, and supervisors.
Okay. And what equipment were you checking out that night?
A shotgun, a less lethal shotgun, mics for our cameras inside the car, pouches for our mics, batteries for our radios, keys for the cars, taser. I think that's about it right now.
Do you have a recollection of there being cameras inside your car back on May 21, 2016?
Yes, I believe so.
Now, when you arrived at the Penthouse, you saw that there was a female holding and embracing Ms. Heard, correct?
I believe it was when I was leaving the location, when we were getting ready to leave.
Okay. Now, you believed that Ms. Heard was uncooperative because she was being emotional, crying, was refusing that she was hurt, and she didn't know initially whether she wanted to file a report or not, and then she didn't want to file a report, correct?
Correct.
Now, you said that Officer Science told you later that Ms. Heard called the number on the business card. Do you recall when Officer Science told you that Ms. Heard called the number on the card?
No, I don't recall.
Do you recall approximately how much time you spent at the Penthouse speaking with either the male or with Ms. Heard or looking at the premises that night?
I don't recall right now.
Do you recall roughly whether it was 15 minutes, a half hour, hour?
I don't recall.
I'm going to ask you to take a look at what has been marked as deposition exhibit number 17. I'll just scroll down so you can see that. Hold on. Do you recognize the person in this photo?
I believe that's Ms. Heard.
All right. Is this the same person you saw on the night of May 21st, 2016, when you arrived sometime after 9:04 p.m.? And do you recall seeing the red marks that are reflected on this exhibit number 17 on Ms. Heard?
No, I was never this close to be able to examine her face.
You were never close enough to Ms. Heard to be able to examine her face. Is that what you said?
Correct.
Okay. If you had seen this mark close enough to be able to see it, would you have believed you had an obligation to prepare a report?
No, because I don't know what this is from.
Would you agree it's a red mark on her face? I'll ask you.
From what I saw was red from her crying. There was no red marks from any other thing. It was consistent with her crying.
Does this look like a red mark that's from crying? Officer Haddon, in reviewing this picture, does it appear that there's an injury on Ms. Heard's face in this picture?
No.
You would say that doesn't evidence an injury?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't see an injury.
I'm going to show you what has been marked as deposition exhibit number 18. And do you recognize this carpeting?
No.
Officer Haddon, what do you see in this picture?
I see stripes with some type of stains on to be a possible flooring.
Okay. Do you have a recollection of seeing stains on the flooring outside of Ms. Heard's penthouse that night of May 21st, 2016?
At this point, not that I recall.
And when you say at this point, not that you can recall, what do you mean by that?
It's 5 years ago. I don't remember.
Officer Haddon, I'm going to show you what has been marked as Haddon exhibit number 19. Do you recognize the business card?
Yes.
And tell me what you can recall of that.
Well, that's my handwriting, and those are our LAPD business cards.
All right. The next thing on there is refuse report. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Was it your understanding that Ms. Heard did not want to press charges?
She spoke with my partner, and that's what my partner advised me.
Okay. Were you ever in the room when Ms. Heard either, quote, refused report or refused to press charges?
I believe we offered her one final chance before we gave her the business card if she needed medical treatment or a report, and she declined at that time, and that's when we issued this business card.
And what did you mean by report?
An official investigative report.
Is that the victim's choice to write, whether you write an official investigative report?
Yes. A citizen can ask for a report for anything, essentially, with LAPD.
But do you have an obligation as an LAPD patrol officer to write a report if you see injuries or property damage?
If there's evidence of a crime, yes.
And when you say if there's evidence of a crime, would injuries and property damage constitute evidence of a crime?
If there's evidence of a crime, yes.
Okay. Is there something different about what you're saying than what I'm asking? Well, I'm trying to understand when I say if you see evidence of injuries and property damage, is that evidence of a crime in your mind?
Yes, if the person didn't do it themselves. I mean, I can damage my own property and it's not a crime.
Okay. Did you have any reason to believe that Amber Heard created any injuries to herself or to the property at the time you were there on May 21st, 2016?
No, because I don't recall seeing any damaged property or her obtaining any injuries or having visible injuries that I saw.
Now it says advised can call at later time if changes mind. What, if any, discussion did you have with Officer Sines about what that meant?
Well, that goes with what I said earlier was a citizen can make a report about anything at any time. It's called an investigative report or just an incident report. So if she wanted a report, then she would call us back and we'll take a report.
But at that point, you have already written into your system that the victim advised verbal dispute only, correct?
Correct.
And you did not write a report or take pictures or create any kind of record, did you, of anything that transpired there?
Just the business part.
I'm going to ask you, Officer Haddon, to take a look at what has been marked as deposition exhibit number 24. Do you recognize the person in this picture?
Miss Heard?
Well, do you recognize her as Ms. Heard?
No, I had no idea who she was.
Do you recognize the person in this picture on Haddon exhibit number 24 as the person who was the subject of your and Officer Sines reporting to the Eastern Columbia building that evening?
Correct.
All right, so let's go to exhibit number 24. And what do you see in this picture with respect to whether there is any injury depicted on Ms. Heard?
I see a female white, fair skin with pink cheek.
I'm sorry, with a what?
Pink cheek and pink eyes.
All right. Do you recognize that as a potential injury on her face?
Knowing what our investigation revealed, no, it's that pink's consistent with Brian.
What do you mean by what your investigation revealed?
That it was a verbal dispute. And she refused that she had any injury.
And just so we're clear again, you were never in the presence of Ms. Heard when she at any time said it was only a verbal dispute, correct?
Correct.
Now, would you as a police officer investigating, if you saw this, what's depicted in this picture, would you believe that you need to investigate further?
I would need additional information. Just because I see a female with pink cheeks and pink eyes doesn't mean that something happened. They should be sad and crying that their dog died.
Did you engage in any further investigation?
No, the only investigation I did was part of speaking with my partner and then speaking with the witness. With the witness, the next door neighbor.
And what did you discuss with the witness, the next door neighbor?
I tried to obtain information of what occurred.
What did you ask?
Who, what, when, where, why.
And what did he say?
I don't remember his exact words, but he wasn't very coming with the information. I had very vague information as far as what he was telling me.
What do you specifically recall the witness telling you?
I don't recall.
You don't recall at all?
I don't recall specific words or sentences.
Do you recall the witness taking you around and showing you property damage in the penthouse?
No, I recall my partner and I doing a protective sweep, and that's it.
You don't recall Josh Drew being with you and taking you through?
I don't recall if someone else was with us or not.
Do you recall one way or the other?
I don't recall.
All right. Now, you have a recollection of you and Officer Science going through the entire penthouse, is that correct?
We did a protective sweep of the location that she was at.
And tell me what you mean by protective sweep.
We walked through the general housing area that she is at to make sure that there's no one else in it that shouldn't be there, or there's no one hurt.
Do you recall how many rooms you went through?
No, I don't.
I'm going to ask you, the officer having to take a look at number 25. Do you recognize this as Ms. Heard?
Yes.
All right. And do you see any injuries depicted on this picture?
No.
I'm going to show you what has been marked as exhibit number 26. Do you recognize this as Ms. Heard?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see any injuries in this picture?
No.
I'm going to ask you the same question. Exhibit number 27. Do you recognize this as Ms. Heard?
Yes.
And do you see any injuries in this picture on Ms. Heard?
No.
I'm going to ask the same questions. Officer Haddon, I'm going to ask you to look at Haddon exhibit number 28. Do you recognize this as Ms. Heard?
Yes.
And do you see any injuries depicted on Ms. Heard's face in this picture?
No.
I'll show you exhibit number 29. Do you recognize this as Ms. Heard?
Yes.
Do you see any injuries on Ms. Heard in this picture?
No.
Now, you indicated that you and Officer Sines went through the apartment, correct?
Correct. We did a protective sweep.
Protective sweep. And in doing the protective sweep, you did go in the room, correct?
I mean, I don't know exactly where we went, but we walked around what she claimed was her living quarters.
Would you agree that if Ms. Heard displayed injuries at the time that you reported to her residence after the domestic violence call, that you would have had an obligation to prepare a report?
If there was injuries or a complaint of pain, yes.
I'm sorry, injuries or what?
Complaint of pain?
Would you agree that if Ms. Heard displayed injuries that you perceived to be injuries at the time you reported to Ms. Heard's residence after the domestic violence call on May 21st, 2016, you had an obligation to prepare a report?
If I perceived them to be injuries, then yes.
Okay. Would you agree that if there was property damage present at the time you reported to Ms. Heard's residence after the domestic violence calls, you had an obligation to prepare a report?
No, because if she's living there, that's her property, and she's being uncooperative and doesn't say that someone else did it or anyone else did it, then I have no other information to go off of. She could have broken it herself.
Officer Haddon, did you provide any pamphlets to Ms. Heard, you or Officer Sines, relating to domestic violence?
I personally did not.
Do you know whether Officer Sines did?
I don't know.
And ladies and gentlemen, at this point, counsel for Mr. Depp takes over the questioning.
Did you see Ms. Heard's face on the evening of May 21, 2016?
Yes,
On how many occasions did you see her face?
I believe 2.
And the first time you saw her face, how close to her were you?
I don't recall exactly. I think it was approximately 10 feet.
Did you perceive any, did you have any problems with your eyesight at that time?
No.
Did you have 20/20 vision as of May 21, 2016?
No, I wear contacts though, so I can't see perfectly fine.
Were you wearing your contacts that evening?
Yes.
Did you have any trouble seeing the contours of her face the first time you saw her that evening?
No.
Did you perceive any signs of injury on her face or anywhere else on her body that was visible to you?
No.
For how long a period did you view her face the first time you saw her that night?
A few seconds, not very long.
And how much later was the second time you saw Miss Heard?
Right before we left.
And how close to her were you when you observed her face?
Approximately 10 feet.
Did you have a clear view of her face?
Yes.
Did you still have your contacts in at the time?
Yes.
Was there sufficient light that enabled you to actually see her face?
I believe so. I believe it was the light was a little dimmer, but it was still lit.
Did you perceive any signs of injury to her face on that second occasion?
No.
Did you see any swelling of any kind on her face, either during the first time you saw her or the second time you saw her that night?
No.
Did you see any marks on her face, either the first time you observed her that night or the second time you observed her?
Just the redness, which was consistent with her crying.
Did you see any time that night any indication of any bruising on her face?
No.
Did you see at any time that evening any indication or any sign whatsoever of any injury to her face?
No.
And going to your, was it the security, what was the term you used? The security sweep, is that correct?
The protective sweep?
Protective sweep. During your protective sweep, was your access barred to any part of the penthouse?
My access what? Sorry.
Did you have free access to the penthouse?
The witness that was there, I believe he guided us kind of through the place. I don't know, where he guided us through.
Did you see any broken glass anywhere in the penthouse where you did the protective sweep?
Not that I remember.
Were you looking for any signs of a disturbance?
Yes.
Why were you looking for signs of a possible disturbance?
Signs of or any evidence that a crime has occurred.
Is that standard procedure, a police procedure?
Yes.
And why do you look for potential signs of vandalism or disturbance to property in the course of a domestic violence allegation or possibility?
Just because that tends to happen when some type of domestic altercation occurs between two people.
Did you see any sign of any kind of property damage or vandalism that evening?
Not that I recall.
Did you see any signs of spilled wine on the floor?
Not that I recall. If they were visible or a complaint of pain.
Do you recall some questioning from Ms. Heard's counsel, Ms. Bredehoft, about a man who led you through the penthouses on the evening of May 21, 2016?
Yes.
Did you describe him as uncooperative?
Yes.
Let me ask another question. Was he cooperative with your inquiries that evening?
No.
What do you mean by that?
I attempted to gather information of who the husband was, and what occurred, and where he possibly went, so we could interview kind of all the different parties. And he wouldn't even give me a name of who the husband was.
And how long did you interact with that person who in fact is Josh Drew?
I'd say approximately 5 to 10 minutes.
Did he report to you in words or substance that any domestic violence had occurred?
I don't recall any exact verbiage he said.
Did he report to you in words or substance any vandalism?
No, not that I recall.
On the evening that you and your partner got a call to the Penthouse on May 21, 2016, were you and your partner in a particular hurry to close out this incident?
No.
Were you willing to stay as long as was necessary to resolve the matter?
Yes.
Would you generally take notes for a verbal dispute only?
When we disable the call and we get rid of the call, we leave our comments of what occurred and what we did in that call.
Would you generally write a report for a verbal dispute only?
No, unless it's at the request of one of the parties.
When you were typing in your computer to add text to a call, is it common to refer to the focus individual in the call as a victim, whether a crime has been committed or not?
Yes, because that's how the call was broadcasted and created.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, counsel for Ms. Heard completes the questioning.
Now, there was another woman that was present as well, correct, that night?
I believe so, yes.
Do you remember testifying earlier that at the end she was holding and embracing Ms. Heard?
Yeah, I believe she's sitting on the couch with her when we left.
Did you interview that woman?
No, she was with Ms. Heard when my partner was speaking with her, I believe. I never spoke to her. Did you ever attempt to interview that woman that was on the couch who was embracing Ms. Heard? No, because I was speaking with the gentleman outside.
Do you know whether Officer Science ever attempted to interview that woman who was sitting on the couch?
I am unaware.
Okay. Now, let's go back to the description that you gave, and you responded again to it with Mr. Chu, that she was crying and had a red face, and you said the redness was consistent with crying. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. Why was she crying?
I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know why she was crying.
Did you ask her?
I personally did not, because my partner interviewed her.
Then when you downloaded with your partner later, did you ask Officer Science why Amber Heard was crying?
No, my partner never advised me. She spoke with her and while I was speaking with the gentleman.
Do you recall that you testified that there was another woman who was embracing Ms. Heard on the sofa at the end of your visit?
Yes.
Do you recall asking why she was embracing and holding Ms. Heard? Why did you not ask either the other woman or Ms. Heard why the woman was embracing and holding Ms. Heard?
Why I did not is because we were trained in the academy to separate the parties and to try and attempt to build a rapport with the individual we're speaking with. Therefore, it was two females and my partner was female, so therefore my partner spoke with the females.
would it be fair to say you deferred to Officer Sines to conduct any type of investigation with both Ms. Heard and the other woman who was embracing her?
I know my partner spoke with Ms. Heard. I am unaware. I cannot testify if she spoke with the other female.
When you said you learned at the academy to divide up the parties, was it your understanding that parties meant the victim and the suspect?
All parties.
Do you know whether anyone made an attempt to divide up the woman from Ms. Heard, the woman that was embracing her?
I am unaware.
Okay. Now, the redness that you said was on Ms. Heard's face when she was crying and emotional, could it also have been consistent with injury?
I do not think so. I perceived it as redness from crying.
Did you consider whether the redness on the face might be from something in addition to crying?
No, I did not.
And you had never met Ms. Heard before, correct?
Never even seen her.
And would it be fair to say that you don't know what Ms. Heard's, what her characteristics are for swelling, bruising, redness, correct?
Correct.
I'm going to ask you, Officer Haddon, to look at what has been marked as Haddon Exhibit number 8, and it's from the Office of the Chief of Police, and it's dated November 24, 2014, and the subject is Domestic Violence Supplemental Report, Form 15.40.02 revised. Do you see that?
I do.
This was provided to us by the LAPD in response to our document requests. Did you have an understanding that there was a domestic violence supplemental report form that was in place as of May 21st, 2016?
Yes.